Sometimes I have to think of the topics to talk about on an almost daily basis, and sometimes you give me the topics sent directly to me, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about in today's video. Got an email from a viewer that I thought, this is a great discussion point, should just make this into a video. So Grant that emailed me gave me this idea, and I thought, let's just get out on the streets and chat a little bit about it. And the topic was about the exchange of your time, your job, your career for holiday time off. And it's not something that I'd really thought about before, but the way that Grant structured it in his email to me actually got me really kind of thinking about it. Now, I messaged Grant and said, do you mind if I talk about this in a video? Not really a personal email, right? It's just a discussion point. And Grant's one stipulation was, sure, as long as I get half of the royalties from the video. So Grant, I'm officially stating I'll give you the £1.50, which will be half of what I'll earn from this video. But back to the topic, right? The exchange of your time whilst in a job, a career, as holidays, annual entitlement. Now, this will differ across other countries, where I do occasionally get viewers from America, from Malaysia, from Australia, and from a few other places, but the vast majority of my viewers here are from the UK that's watching this, right? And so in the UK, you'll typically get an annual holiday entitlement. What would that be, about 28 days? 28 days a year you get off from your job to have as your own, to have as yours to do as you please. You might take, a bit of time off at Christmas. You might have the Easter holidays off. You might take 2 weeks in the summer to go away with the family. And in that 2 weeks, you'll have a holiday booked, you'll fly out, you'll go away and you'll try and detach from reality, try and detach from the job that you've spent, most of that year thinking about. And then you'll sit at the pool, have a cocktail, try and put it all behind you and just enjoy the relaxation of that time off. And for me, right, personally, I worked in sales, right, so there never really was true time off. You would go away and you would always be hearing from people like, oh, this deal's coming through, or this client's pushing back, or this is going on. Or more importantly, right, the real part of all of this, anybody that's worked in sales will recognise this, the bit where you're actually logging into your emails to check and see if things are getting done, but what the numbers for the last week look like. So your brain never quite detaches from the job, and then suddenly, with probably 3-4 days to go before the end of your holiday, it's time to start thinking about getting back. You'll be on that plane flying home like, oh God, I'm going back to work tomorrow. That part of it all, right? And so we never question it. We never actually sit down and go, hold on a minute, I work for this company, and out the back of this, they give me 28 days a year to have for myself now. I'm not criticising jobs, right? I know people will watch this and say, I love my job, I care about this. I loved my job when I was there. But Grant posed a really good question, and that was actually just to take a minute to think about the exchange of your life for a salary, and in return of all of that, they gift you 28 days off a year. Now, this is where it became really interesting for me in the comms from Grant, right? Because he then did the calculation that I've never thought to do before. I worked in a sales career for 31 years, talked about it in the last couple of podcasts. Now, today's Tuesday, by the way, and as a kind of weekly structure, right? On a Wednesday, I do a live stream where I talk about a topic. Last couple of weeks, it's been that 31-year career, and also post the career, what the last 15 months have been like. It's called Second Wave. second wind. I'm getting to I'm so bad at that. That's my marketing skills showing up there. I could edit that out, but I won't, because mistakes are okay. Mistakes are okay. Second Wind is my podcast. It's available on Spotify and here on YouTube. You can watch it live. Now, here's the part that I hadn't thought about, right? Grant did the calculations for me. 31 years in a sales job, 28 days off per year, comes out to roughly somewhere between 860 and 900 days off total to myself out of 31 years. 31 years. And let's just give it the maximum and say, and out of 31 years, I've been allowed 900 days off. And that equates to about 2.5 years. So I gave companies, multiple companies, 31 years of my life in exchange for a salary. And of course, the salary brings lots of benefits. It's allowed me to live a life and have those holidays that we talked about and make investments and save money up and all the things that come with it, right? But for 31 years, I was allowed 2.5 years back to do what I wanted to do in very small segments, which still involved me realistically still thinking about the job, the numbers, the sales performance, what the team were up to. So never really dialing out of the mental capacity of the job. So see, when Grant sent me that, I read that and I was like, oh, Grant, you're onto a really good topic here. I get emails from viewers all the time and they made me immediately think of, do you remember like Points of View? It used to be on the TV when people would write into the BBC or whatever channel it was on and talk to the host about TV shows. It made me think of that Points of View. And so I thought, I might actually turn this into a little bit of a regular feature, talking about viewers who message me with great topics and give me permission to talk about those topics. Because so much of this has been about me, and then I hear from you and I'm like, oh, some amazing stories and all of this. So my email address is down below. And just one last bit about email addresses. I have a weekly newsletter that goes out every Friday. It's called Slow Travel Letters, where I just share a bit more. When I set it up last October, I bought 500 spaces, 500 subscriber limit. It's at 410. I've got 90 spaces left. It's free. I don't sell you anything in it. I just talk a little bit more. And of the 410 people that are subscribed to it, about 60% of them open that email every single week. So if you want in on it, the mail is down below. But Grant replied to one of those emails, and this is how the conversation's in now. 2.5 years, right? And that's what kind of really made me think, like, does that sound like a lot? Does that sound like enough for doing all the things that you want to do in your life outside of work? You know, we obsess over holidays and countdowns to holidays and summer breaks and the brochures that you used to go through, right? Thomas Cook brochures. You'd look at a holiday and go into a local store to book it. And that's the exchange that you give, part of that career and part of that salary. But never been able to truly switch off, right? Never been able to truly break away. You know, how many evenings are you checking emails? How many out of hours calls have you taken part in? I was a European sales director. I was managing multiple territories. At one stage I was managing actually business out of New York and also Arizona. I'd be dialing into calls at all times of the day, and it was just equated to, but that's what the salary is. That's what you get for that. Right, there's 95 doesn't exist in the office environment. It disappeared years ago. You're now contactable all the time via one of these. And if you've got that mindset where you'll sit and look at it, then you know there's no escape from it all, right? So the work-life balance has completely disappeared. Now here was the part that Grant got to in his email to me about all of this, right? Yvonne and I, we left the UK last September. I've been out of work this November coming, 2026. 2 years I've been out of work. I have almost been out of work and doing the things that I want to, which is leaving the UK, building this channel, you know, creating content, traveling, for the same amount of time as I would have been given as a holiday period for the 31-year career. Now, of course, it's not stress-free, it's not risk-free, right? I have to try and earn some money online with you helping me here, watching these videos and people that subscribe to my newsletter and all that stuff that I've built up. But I've done that for myself, done that to scratch the creative itch out of all of this. But I thought Grant's point when he said, have you stopped for a minute to think that you have now been doing your own thing for almost as long as you were given, permitted to have in that 31-year career? That's quite a wild calculation. So do that yourself, right? If you're still in your job and you're thinking, I get a lot of viewers who are thinking, looking forward to retirement, or I'm planning my retirement, or I'm thinking about leaving work early, or I might take a sabbatical and take a bit of time off. That's what Yvonne did when we left. She booked a year's sabbatical and then was made redundant during the sabbatical, which is kind of what we had planned for, we had hoped might happen. She would get a payoff, that's what transpired, but it was stressful. Took a sabbatical to have time out of work. A 1-year gap away, and what happened? Well, she ended up on redundancy calls and being two-paid over to a new business, and only now is she mentally in that position of thinking like, I'm out of a job. She started her Substack, she writes weekly blogs, she does all of that kind of stuff, and been able to kind of discover herself a little bit now. Again, I'm not delusional in all of this. I understand that we've been able to save up some money from those jobs and we've sold our possessions. We've given ourselves a bit of a financial runway to be able to do all of these things, and not everybody will be in that position. I can already hear the comments now, right? But, this is just fascinating, right? I've mentioned in videos, I've gone from this 6-figure salary, and my goal this year was to earn £24,000. I've given up on chasing the career and a house and cars and all those things. I just no longer care about them. My list of priorities is significantly smaller. This is what I'm going to talk about tomorrow night on the live stream. Growth, personal lifestyle growth. That's what I want to talk about. The thunder's just happening in the background here in the house, so the rain's probably on the way, which will be a good time to end this. So thank you so much, Grant, for this topic. I don't have an answer in all of this. It was a moment for me to reflect in a viewer's message and think, God, somebody's really got me. It's kind of felt quite poignant in some ways. 2.5 years for a 31-year career, and now I've had almost 2 years of just doing kind of what I wanted to do, which is, yes, still working in some shape or form, but for myself and doing the things that I wanted to do. I gave myself permission to do all of this. I didn't have to ask the HR team through the, can I book a week off? Is anybody else off this week? Oh, tell me if you recognise that stuff, right? Hey guys, is anybody having this week off in July? Is there any chance that I could take this week off? Oh, Dave, you've already got it off? All right, maybe I'll see if I can move my entire family holiday to another week. Oh, I don't miss that. Right, thanks, Grant. Anybody else that wants to get in touch with me, I'm going to do this as a little feature moving forward. Viewers, emails, points of view, I'm bringing it back. Thanks everyone, have a great day.